And we'll get more sport real soon on the show. Now, after a Good Friday pause on the election trail, it's back on today. And joining us, as we do every Saturday on the lead up to the election, member for Kingsford Smith, Labor's Matt Thistlethwaite. He's down at the beach. And from the government, it is the member for Mackellar, Jason Falinski, with beautiful district views up there on the northern beaches of Sydney. Welcome to you both. Good morning and happy Easter.
Morning, Tim. Happy Easter, mate.
Jason, I want to start with you, and I'll ask you both this question. I had Jonathan Lee on the show a little earlier, one of our senior political reporters. It is turning into a little bit of a sale of the century. Who wants to be a millionaire? Great temptation. It's academic. It doesn't matter which generation. I'm trying to fill them all in, but these gotcha questions, they really are interesting, if not different, phenomena.
Yeah, Tim, look, it's not new to politics, I have to say, but I think what this week showed really was that the lack of scrutiny that Labor's been under from the media hasn't been to their benefit over the last 2 years and 11 months. It's meant that there were some really key questions that they might not have thought about. We just saw that yesterday with PBO costings, which weren't costings but were based on what the PBO had said. All these things, you know, if Labor had been a bit more adventurous, I suspect, in what they were doing, would have been worked out months ago. Instead, they're having to work them out during the middle of a campaign. And I think that makes Australians nervous, especially given how uncertain the world is at the moment.
You'd obviously agree, Matt?
No, I don't. Look, all of Labor's policies will be fully costed before the election in the normal course. But I think, Tim, I think you're right. I don't think people are looking for gotcha moments. They're looking for policy substance and a long-term vision for Australia. And this week we saw Labor make two very important announcements around healthcare that deal with some of the problems that we've had with our healthcare system for quite a while. And our Medicare Urgent announcement will take pressure off our emergency departments, and our announcement around telehealth and providing greater access for people around mental health support is dealing with a long-term problem in our community of the increase in the incidence of mental health problems. So they're the sort of announcements and policies that people are looking for in that long-term vision for the country.
Well, in horse racing terms, you'd want to have a good trial if you're a favourite heading into a race. You would suggest that Anthony Albanese's had a sloppy week. He's going to have to straighten things out, isn't he, Matt?
Well, I think both leaders have had their ups and downs this week. That's the nature of campaigning. But as I said, I think in my discussions with people out on the hustings, they want to know what Labor's plans are for the country, what the coalition's plans are, and they like our announcements around healthcare. They like what we're doing to improve housing affordability. They like our cheaper childcare policy, which will take pressure off families with cost of living. They like our Powering Australia policy because it's got a stronger medium-term target for emissions reductions. It reduces electricity prices and it makes electric vehicles cheaper throughout the country. And that's what people want. They want that long-term policy vision to solve some of the country's problems.
Jason, your leader, our Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, he's been seen traditionally as a good campaigner. He has taken kissing of babies and getting involved with these individual stunts to a whole new level, though.
Mate, I think what we've always seen is that Scott Morrison loves being out on the hustings meeting people. He's very good at it. I mean, you know, that was, I think, always the thing that the Labor Party was most afraid of, which was even though we're clearly the underdogs and they're 10 points in front, they were very worried about how well the Prime Minister campaigns because he loves meeting Australians, and we're seeing that already in the first week. I would say in reply to some of the stuff that Matt was saying was, I share a lot of his aspirations too. I mean, I want cheaper childcare. I want people on JobSeeker to get more money. I want Australians, especially young Australians, to be able to own their own home. The question to all of this is not the aspiration. The question is, how are you going to do it? And in campaigns, you get found out if you haven't done the work. And for Anthony Albanese's sake, I hope this week was just an aberration because for Australian politics to be better, we need two strong parties. But what we found with some of Labor's announcements, what we've certainly found with a lot of the fake independents going around is that there's been no work behind some of their aspirations. And so if elected, they wouldn't be able to put them into practice.
What do you think, Matt? Is our Prime Minister the king of corny? What do you think of him on the election campaign?
Well, he's a marketing man. That term, Scotty, from marketing is pretty adept, I think. He's come from a marketing background and he tries to spin his way through his election campaign. But we all know that the Prime Minister's all about slogan, but never about the follow-up. And that's why we had a problem with our vaccine rollout. The Prime Minister said we were at the front of the queue. We found out quite quickly that we weren't. He said they'd ordered enough rapid antigen tests. Obviously, they hadn't. We had that crisis in our healthcare system over the Christmas period. And, of course, the disaster with the bushfires and the floods of recent times. The Prime Minister announced policies, but they haven't delivered. And that's why I think Australians have had enough, and they want to know that there are policies that will deal with some of these problems and make sure that we've got a better future for the country.
Jason, it's fantastic to see Australians travelling, and I think we're going to see record numbers on the Gold Coast this weekend with the Easter period. But it is meaning that we're trying to play catch-up with infrastructure, and the airports and the roads, they are heaving at the moment.
Yeah, they are, Tim, and this is, unfortunately, there's a lot of bottled up demand and a lot of people wanting to do the same thing all at once. We also have problems or challenges, I should say, in a lot of our transport hubs where they haven't been used for the last couple of years. And so getting the security people, getting the people behind the desk, there are, I think, I read over 1,000 security positions open at Sydney Airport. You also had Alan Joyce making the point, which is that people haven't travelled for so long that they're not actually used to what to do when they get to the security check-in. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. But this is what returning to normal looks like. And I think it's a great thing. It's a great thing. Australia was meant to be a whole. We weren't meant to live in our own separate hermit kingdoms. It probably took us too long to get to this point, but we're here now, and it's something that we should celebrate. And look, I noticed a lot of the vox pops at the airport in particular, people are saying, yeah, this is inconvenient, but I tell you what, I'm so glad I'm able to travel now, and I'm willing to put up with a little bit of inconvenience to be able to go and see my friends and family and get away for a holiday.
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of the magic over both your shoulders today with a bright, beautiful day in the Emerald City. Matt, look, I've seen a lot of favourites lose. Anthony Albanese, what does he need to do? What does your leader need to do? Because he really does need to straighten things out, be more powerful in front of the microphone, less gaffes in his answering of those questions, whether or not we see it as a sideshow or not. People are watching. What does he need to do as the face of your campaign?
Well, he needs to stick to the game plan, and that is to ensure that we're releasing policies consistently throughout this campaign that deal with some of the problems, the longer-term problems that the country has. And that's what Anthony's been doing. Fantastic announcements this week on healthcare that deal with a big problem that I've got in my electorate here at the Prince of Wales Hospital, where you've got emergency waiting times of 6 to 7 hours. That's reflected throughout the state. We've got a policy to deal with that. And that's what Australians want to see. When it comes to the inaction that we've had on climate change, I'm down at beautiful Maroubra Beach at the moment. I just had a surf this morning with some mates. The water's fantastic, but the beach here was smashed over the course of the last week. And the coastline has been. Now, those extreme weather events aren't going to go away. They're going to become all the more frequent, and we need to prepare for those. And Labor's got a policy to do that. And I think that that's what people want to see. We'll be sticking to that game plan of announcing that policy as the election goes on. And hopefully at the end of it, the Australian people will see that we've got a clearer and a better vision for the country.
On a lighter note, it's comforting to see that you haven't gone the Tony Abbott Speedo look for the cross this morning. Now,
Jason, put the camera down. Put the camera down.
we'll leave that. But Jason, I do want to ask you, you wouldn't be rubbing your hands or jumping for joy right at the moment with some of the gaffes that we've seen from the opposition leader, because as a long-term politician, you and your party would realise that you are probably only a butterfly wing away from drama yourself. It's a difficult time, the campaign part.
Mate, Tim, you're absolutely right. And the fact of the matter remains that this campaign's not about us. It's about the people of Australia. It's about their hopes and aspirations and how we deliver on those things. And, to what Matt said, I mean, if we did such a bad job at the pandemic, why do we have the lowest death rates, the highest vaccination rates, the lowest unemployment rates, the highest growth rates? It's because we actually did, Australians, not the government, Australians together with the government did a great job. When you go and look at climate change, we've reduced our emissions by 21% since 2005. We're on track to reduce them by 35% by 2030. And I suspect when that projection gets updated this year, it'll only be higher. And we're one of the few countries in the world to not only sign up to net zero by 2050, but to have an actionable plan, which we are putting in place. It's all well and good to have these aspirations, but the questions that most Australians want to know is, how are you going to do it? And I think what this week was about was not so much the gas and the gotcha moments, was this pervading sense of maybe the opposition, the Labor Party, hasn't done its work. And, that's what I think Albo needs to turn around over the next few weeks.
All right, now, on a lighter note, as we wrap it up, we're all family men, all got kids. We're taking the kids to the delayed Tamworth Country Music Festival. First time I've been there tomorrow after work. What are you guys doing for Easter, Jason? What do you got on with the family?
Well, we're going to the football tonight, but Tim, I've also been told that I know one of the syndicate members of Fireburn, and to let you know that if she wins the Champagne Stakes, she'll be the first two-year-old filly to win the Triple Crown in, they reckon, about 30 years. And they wanted you to confirm whether that's true or not.
I'm pretty sure it is. I'd have to get the exact amount, but it'd be around that 3 decades. And we'll have all those news on. Thanks for the plug for Racing Dreams at 9 a.m. this morning, Eastern Standard Time. And Fireburn, of course, one of 2 Group 1s today, the Champagne, and then later on in the day we've got the All-Age Stakes. But Fireburn, what a mighty little filly she is. Now, what about you, Matt? What are you doing for Christmas? What are you doing for Easter, rather? When I asked you about Christmas.
It's a bit early. Well, Tim, mate, the Easter Bunny came early in our community yesterday when the mighty Rabbitohs had a big win over the Doggies. So there's plenty of smiles on the faces down here in old South Sydney town this morning. But on Sunday, I'll be out campaigning today, but on Sunday I'll be going to morning mass with the kids and then spending the afternoon with the family. So it's a great break from the campaign tomorrow. But happy Easter to everyone celebrating.
Yeah, absolutely. Good on you, boys. And we'll do it all again next week.